Welcome to OOTO, TV, the out-of-the-office investigation from our past into the future of personal health and agriculture production. This time we're discussing regenerative agriculture and soil health practices. Washington, it's a pleasure to be here. It certainly is, Franklin. We have a fascinating journey ahead of us today. We'll be exploring the crisis facing our global soil, digging into the principles of a powerful solution, and tracing the incredible scientific path from the microbes under our feet directly to the health of our own cells. It's a story of connection that I believe will change how many of us look at our food, our planet, and our own well-being.
Let's start with this powerful statement from the USDA. It perfectly frames the immense stakes we're facing.
Absolutely. We're projected to hit 8.6 billion people by 2030, and the pressure that puts on our food systems is almost unimaginable. That pressure falls squarely on our soil.
And it's not just about producing enough calories, Washington. It's about the quality of that food and the health of the system producing it.
Indeed, the health of our soil isn't just an agricultural issue, it's a foundational pillar for our future.
And the sources make it clear it's also a major player in our climate.
That's a critical point. Global soils are estimated to store around 1,500 gigatons of carbon. That's 3 times the amount in our entire atmosphere. So how we manage it has direct and profound climate implications.
To explore this, we've structured our investigation into 5 key areas. Building the story from the ground up. We'll trace the narrative from the problem, the crisis under our feet, to a promising solution, and finally connect it all back to our own bodies and our collective future. For decades, the dominant model of intensive agriculture has led to widespread soil degradation. We're talking about vast monocultures and the heavy use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides.
And this created a vicious cycle of diminishing returns. It's a feedback loop of degradation.
How does that loop work exactly?
Well, the more we intervene with synthetic chemicals, the more we disrupt the essential microbial communities in the soil, the very life that creates fertility.
So the soil becomes less fertile on its own, which then requires even more chemical inputs just to maintain yields. It's a treadmill that degrades the farm's most valuable asset. And this slide perfectly illustrates that contrast. On the left, you see the consequences of that degradation cycle we just discussed.
On the right, you see a completely different goal, a system of active restoration and renewal.
This really highlights a fundamental shift in philosophy, doesn't it?
It's a paradigm shift, Franklin. It's moving away from viewing soil as an inert medium, just dirt to hold up plants, and toward understanding it as a living, breathing, dynamic ecosystem that needs to be nurtured. That shift is the very heart of regenerative agriculture.
Okay, Franklin, that clearly sets up the problem. But let's get specific. It's a term we hear a lot, but the details can be fuzzy. So, what are the key elements for regenerative agriculture and soil health practices? What does the solution actually look like on the ground? Excellent question. At its core, regenerative agriculture, or RA, is a holistic system focused on rebuilding that entire ecosystem we mentioned, starting with the soil.
So the goal isn't just to sustain the current state, which might already be degraded, it's to actively make it better.
Precisely. The term has been around since the 1980s, and its core principle is active improvement. It's about leaving the land healthier and more productive for the next generation.
And it's not just an environmental concept. It also addresses the economic viability for farmers and the social health of communities. It's a truly integrated approach.
And that holistic idea is put into practice through 4 core principles, defined by the NRCS, that work in synergy to bring the soil back to life. Let's look at each one. First up, minimize disturbance. This primarily means reducing or eliminating tillage or plowing. Why is that so crucial, Franklin? Because tillage is like setting off an earthquake, a hurricane, and a fire all at once for the soil ecosystem. It physically shatters the soil structure, the homes where microbes live.
And it breaks apart those delicate fungal networks, the hyphae, that act as a nutrient superhighway for plants.
Exactly. It also exposes protected carbon to the air, where microbes rapidly consume it, releasing it as CO2. So no-till farming protects soil life and keeps carbon in the ground.
Okay, that makes sense. Principle 2 is to maximize soil cover. This seems intuitive, like not leaving your skin unprotected in the sun.
It's a perfect analogy. Bare soil is vulnerable. Using cover crops or leaving crop residue on the surface acts like armor, protecting it from being washed away by rain or blown away by wind.
I saw a figure from a Canadian study showing a winter rye cover crop reduced soil erosion by 40% and improved water retention. That's significant.
It is. And that cover also regulates soil temperature and moisture, creating a more stable and hospitable environment for that all-important microbial life.
You're listening to OOTO TV, with research by author Paul Bulow.
Let's move to the third principle, maximize the presence of living roots. This is about keeping something growing in the soil for as much of the year as possible.
What's happening there at the root level?
This is where the magic happens, Washington. It's a constant, symbiotic marketplace. Plants pump liquid carbon, sugars, and other compounds out of their roots to feed the bacteria and fungi.
And in exchange for that food, the microbes act as miners and couriers, breaking down minerals in the soil and delivering those nutrients back to the plant in a form it can use.
Precisely. If there are no living roots, that entire underground economy shuts down.
The microbes go dormant or die off.
Which brings us to the fourth and final piece of the puzzle, maximize biodiversity. This is where it all seems to come together.
It absolutely does. Monocultures are inherently fragile. They are a feast for specific pests and diseases. By rotating a diverse range of crops and even integrating livestock, you build resilience.
So diversity above the ground directly translates to a more diverse and robust food web below the ground.
That biodiversity is what makes the entire system resilient and self-regulating, reducing the need for outside inputs.
I see the ecological benefits, Franklin. The logic for the farm and the environment is incredibly sound. But let's get to the core of our investigation here at OOTO TV. How can regenerative agriculture and soil health practices affect our mental and physical health? What is the mechanism that connects a healthy field to a healthy human?
The connection starts right here. Healthy soil directly creates healthier, more nutritious plants. And that health can be understood through these three interconnected dimensions.
Let's break those down. Physically, what are we talking about?
Physically, it's about good structure, what's called aggregation. It means the soil can hold both water and air, allowing roots to penetrate easily and access what they need.
Chemically, I assume this refers to the nutrient content.
Correct. It's about the availability of essential minerals and maintaining a proper pH.
And biology, which you've said is the most exciting part. It's that bustling city of bacteria, fungi, protozoa, and countless other organisms that are actively cycling nutrients and protecting the plant from disease.
When a plant grows in soil that is thriving in all three dimensions, it doesn't just survive, it flourishes. It has all the resources it needs.
And that allows it to produce food with a superior nutritional profile. It's not just about growing big and fast. It's about having the building blocks to synthesize the complex compounds that protect the plant and in turn nourish us.
That's the hypothesis. A less stressed plant can devote more energy to producing these beneficial secondary metabolites.
That's a big claim though, Franklin. It's one thing to say it's better for the environment, but it's another to claim it fundamentally changes the food itself. Is the evidence really there? What does the data say?
The evidence is compelling, and it's a rapidly growing field of study. As this chart summarizes, studies are consistently finding that crops grown in regenerative and organic systems have more of the good stuff and less of the bad.
So we're seeing measurably higher levels of key vitamins and minerals like vitamin C, zinc, and iron. At the same time, we're seeing lower levels of potentially harmful pesticide residues and heavy metals like cadmium.
Yes, and now what's really interesting about this slide, and a key to our whole conversation, is the documented increase in those bioactive compounds like polyphenols. These are the plant's own defense chemicals. So the logic is, a healthier plant grown in a complex ecosystem produces more of them to protect itself, and we then benefit from consuming them.
And this is absolutely critical on a global scale. The World Health Organization estimates that over 2 billion people suffer from what's called hidden hunger, micronutrient deficiencies.
So even if people are getting enough calories, they're lacking essential vitamins and minerals, like the zinc and iron we just saw on that chart.
Exactly. So by increasing the nutrient density of staple crops, regenerative practices can directly address this global health crisis at its very root, literally in the soil.
So let's talk more about those bioactives, the polyphenols and other compounds we mentioned. These are the powerful substances that directly influence our cellular health. They're not vitamins or minerals in the classic sense, but they have profound, demonstrable effects on our biology. They're a huge part of the food as medicine conversation.
And we see them across the plant kingdom. The lycopene that makes tomatoes red, the curcumin in turmeric, the quercetin in apples and onions, these are all potent bioactives.
And the research is showing that healthier, biologically active soil enables plants to produce these compounds in greater abundance. We see it in studies on tomatoes, berries, and many other crops. They are, in effect, the plant's own pharmacy.
So how do they work in our bodies? A primary mechanism is that they act as powerful antioxidants. They combat something called oxidative stress,
which is essentially damage at the cellular level. It's caused by unstable molecules called free radicals, which are byproducts of our metabolism and environmental exposures. This cellular damage is a known underlying factor in aging and many chronic diseases.
So the link is becoming incredibly clear. Better soil leads to more of these protective compounds in plants, which then directly bolsters our body's own cellular defense systems against that daily damage.
Precisely. Exposure to food from regenerative agriculture is critical to our health, recovery, and illness reduction. It's a foundational piece of preventative medicine.
So the crucial point is this. Regenerative agriculture stimulates a healthy environment for our cells to thrive. It's not about one single magic nutrient.
It's about the entire symphony of compounds present in that whole food, the vitamins, minerals, fiber, and thousands of bioactives, all working together synergistically.
Which suggests our bodies, every organ and muscle, depend on healthy agricultural practices for good health. This is a profound shift in thinking.
It is. Our health doesn't start at the pharmacy or even the grocery store. It starts in the soil.
The implications of this are vast. When you lower systemic inflammation and reduce oxidative stress, the benefits are truly body-wide. It touches every aspect of our well-being.
Absolutely. Regenerative agriculture and soil health practices can be linked to improved mood, memory, thinking, and even increased longevity.
How so? What are the mechanisms being explored there?
Well, compounds like the flavonoids in berries and quercetin from apples are being intensely studied for their neuroprotective effects. They seem to be able to cross the blood-brain barrier and reduce inflammation in the brain.
And the longevity piece?
Many of these bioactives have been shown to interact with key anti-aging pathways in our cells, like SIRT1 and AMPK, which regulate cellular repair and metabolism. It's a fascinating frontier of research.
You're listening to O's TOTO TV with research by author Paul Bulow. This science connecting the soil to our cells is incredibly compelling, Franklin, but let's bring it back to the big picture. Can regenerative agriculture and soil health practices truly transform our future? The sources are realistic. They note significant barriers like the need for initial investment, farmer training, and institutional support. Can this really scale to meet global challenges?
It has the potential, and while there are challenges, the benefits extend far beyond our personal health. RA is a powerful tool in the fight against climate change.
We talked about the carbon stored in soil, so these practices actively pull more carbon out of the atmosphere?
That's right. Through photosynthesis and the creation of stable organic matter, RA farms can become significant carbon sinks, storing that carbon safely in the ground for the long term.
And beyond carbon, it also makes farms more resilient. Healthier soil with more organic matter acts like a sponge, holding on to water.
That's a critical adaptation. Studies from drought-prone regions consistently show these farms have better soil moisture and higher crop survival rates during extreme weather events. That is food security in a rapidly changing climate.
When you put it all together, it becomes a transformative method. It addresses economic viability for farmers, environmental sustainability for the planet, and food security for all of us. It's a true triple win. And that economic piece is absolutely crucial for scalability. You mentioned the challenges. If this is going to be adopted widely, it has to make financial sense for the farmer. And the sources point to case studies where it does. Over time, farmers report increased profitability due to a drastic reduction in spending on expensive chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and fuel for tillage. So it aligns the farmer's economic incentives with ecological health. When you can save money while simultaneously improving the health and value of your land, it becomes a very powerful proposition.
Ultimately, what we're witnessing is a fundamental paradigm shift in our relationship with the land. We're moving from a combative stance against nature to a collaborative one.
Instead of trying to dominate and control natural processes with chemical brute force, regenerative agriculture seeks to understand, respect, and work with them.
It's about fostering life in the soil, so the soil, in turn, can foster us.
Which brings us full circle, back to that most fundamental connection of all. The health of the land and the health of people are not separate issues. They never were. They are one and the same.
Throughout this investigation, we've traced the scientific pathway from the life of microbes in the soil to the nutrient profile of a plant, all the way to the function of our own cells. The link is direct and undeniable.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought. Is regenerating our soil the key to regenerating ourselves?
Based on the evidence we've explored today, the answer seems to be a resounding yes. Our personal health is not separate from the health of our planet. It is a direct and intimate reflection of it.